The atmosphere inside Gate A12 buzzed with the familiar energy of travelers eager to board. Among them, Leah Johnson walked with quiet confidence, her crisp blazer and calm smile setting her apart. She carried a slim leather laptop bag in one hand and a boarding pass in the other. The attendant at the counter scanned her ticket, nodded and gestured toward first class. Leah thanked her politely and stepped onto the plane, moving through the narrow aisle with measured grace. Her dark curls framed her face as sunlight from the cabin windows caught the gold pin on her lapel, a simple insignia that hinted at success without flaunting it. She located her seat, placed her bag overhead and settled in, pulling out a sleek notebook. A few glances from nearby passengers followed her, curious but unspoken. Leah noticed none of them. Her pen moved steadily, writing a few notes before takeoff. Moments later, Tara Miles, one of the flight attendants, appeared. Her uniform was immaculate, her posture rigid, and her eyes sharp with authority. She had worked this route for years and prided herself on reading people instantly. When she spotted Leah seated in first class, something flickered across her face, a mix of skepticism and discomfort. She stopped beside Leah. "Excuse me, ma'am," Tara said, her voice polite but edged. "Could I please see your boarding pass?" Leah looked up, surprised yet composed. "Of course." She handed it over with a calm smile. Tara's eyes darted across the details, her frown tightening. "This is for first class?" "Yes," Leah replied evenly. "Seat 1A, a brief pause." Tara hesitated, then handed the ticket back with a forced smile. "Thank you." But her posture didn't relax. As she walked away, she threw a glance toward another attendant near the galley. They exchanged whispers. Leah felt the tension but brushed it off, returning to her notes. Minutes later, Tara returned, her expression stiffer. "Ms. Johnson, may I speak with you for a moment?" Leah blinked, puzzled. "Of course." "Please bring your bag," Tara instructed curtly. Leah stood, head held high, and followed her toward the galley. A few passengers looked up, murmuring quietly as she passed. The first-class cabin felt heavier, the curiosity palpable. "I'm afraid there's been a mix-up," Tara began, folding her arms. "Your booking seems incorrect. You'll need to move to another seat in the main cabin." Leah's eyebrows knit slightly. "That can't be right. I confirmed this ticket weeks ago." "I've already checked," Tara replied coldly. "That seat isn't appropriate for you." The last phrase hung in the air like a blade. Leah's composure slipped for only a heartbeat before returning stronger. "My seat is valid, Ms. Miles. Perhaps you could double-check with your system." Tara's tone hardened. "Either you move or I'll have security handle it." The hum of engines and murmuring passengers blended into a suffocating silence. Leah nodded once, her voice low but steady. "Very well." She returned to her seat, collected her belongings, and walked toward the back. Her quiet dignity contrasted sharply with the eyes that followed her, some sympathetic, others silently judging. Tara watched her go with a faint sense of victory, unaware of the storm she had just invited. In the economy cabin, Leah took the middle seat Tara had assigned. The cramped row felt worlds away from the comfort she'd paid for. She exhaled slowly, reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. Her fingers typed a quick message. "Issue in progress. Stay alert. I'll handle it once we're airborne." She pressed send, a subtle smile tugging at her lips before tucking the phone away. Her stillness was deceiving. Beneath it was precision, not passivity. Nearby, another attendant named Elena Vasquez noticed the tension. She approached with a gentle tone, offering a cup of water. "Ma'am, is everything okay?" Leah looked up, gratitude in her eyes. "I'm fine, thank you. Just a little confusion." Elena hesitated but sensed there was more. "If you need anything, please let me know." "I will," Leah said softly, her calmness a quiet force that radiated self-assurance. Up front, Tara busied herself with first-class service, masking unease behind routine smiles. Yet her thoughts kept circling back to Leah. Something about that woman's grace felt intimidating. She tried to shrug it off. After all, she told herself, she had simply enforced policy. But doubt began to creep in. Half an hour into the flight, Leah leaned back, expression unreadable. Her phone vibrated again, a reply to her earlier message. "Understood. Monitoring from ground control. Just say the word." Leah smiled faintly and turned her gaze to the clouds outside, the reflection of light catching in her eyes like quiet fire. Whatever Tara thought she had won, Leah was about to redefine the game. In first class, Tara approached her colleague, the veteran Dennis Cole, and whispered, "Did you see the woman I moved earlier?" Dennis frowned. "What about her?" "She just didn't seem like first-class material." Dennis's brow furrowed. "And that's reason enough to move someone?" Tara shrugged, uneasy. "You'll see. These situations can get tricky." Dennis sighed heavily. "Let's hope this one doesn't come back to bite you." But fate had already taken off along with the plane. Minutes later, the phone in the galley rang. Dennis answered, his tone routine until his expression changed. "Tara," he said slowly, handing her the receiver. "It's for you. From corporate." Tara's pulse quickened. She took the call, her voice tight. "This is Tara." The voice on the other end was calm but authoritative. "Ms. Miles, this is the airline's executive office. We've received a report about a first-class passenger being downgraded. Please ensure no further seat changes occur. You'll be providing a written explanation upon landing." Tara's throat went dry. "Yes, of course." As she hung up, her reflection in the galley window looked pale. For the first time that day, she felt the cold sting of regret. Meanwhile, in row 22, Leah's serene smile returned as she watched sunlight flicker across the clouds. Her message had reached exactly where it needed to. She whispered quietly to herself, "Your turn, Tara." The flight wasn't over, but the tables were about to turn. When the truth about Leah's identity hits 30,000 feet in the air, Tara will wish she'd never opened her mouth. The low hum of the engines filled the cabin, but Tara Miles could no longer hear it over the pounding of her own heart. Every smile she forced for a passenger felt brittle. The earlier phone call from corporate echoed in her ears like turbulence that wouldn't end. At the back of the plane, Leah Johnson sat motionless, watching the clouds drift by. She had already made one more call, silent and brief, and now everything was in motion. Her poise never cracked. Even the woman beside her, who'd witnessed the humiliating downgrade, whispered, "You're handling this so calmly." Leah smiled faintly. Calm solves what anger can't. Up front, veteran attendant Dennis Cole studied Tara. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he murmured. Tara swallowed. Corporate called. "They said there's been a complaint." "About me?" Dennis raised an eyebrow. "You don't say." Before Tara could answer, the cockpit intercom crackled. "Crew, Captain Harris requesting Ms. Miles in the cockpit." Her stomach twisted. She steadied herself and stepped inside. The door closed behind her with an airtight hiss. Captain Harris glanced over his shoulder, his tone firm but level. "Ms. Miles, we've received another call from headquarters. The passenger you moved, Leah Johnson, sits on our board of directors. She's one of the airline's principal investors." Tara froze. "She's what?" "You heard me." The captain's expression hardened. "You will apologize immediately and ensure her comfort for the rest of the flight. Upon landing, expect to file a full incident report." Color drained from Tara's face. She nodded mutely and stepped back into the galley. The hum of the engine sounded louder now, almost mocking. Dennis watched her trembling hands. "So," he said quietly, "you really picked the wrong passenger." "I didn't know," Tara whispered. "That's the problem," Dennis replied. Taking a deep breath, Tara filled a glass of sparkling water and forced herself down the aisle toward row 22. Every step felt heavier than the last. When she reached Leah's seat, the cabin fell silent again, as if the air itself was waiting. "Ms. Johnson," Tara began softly, "I want to personally apologize for what happened earlier. It was a misunderstanding on my part." Leah tilted her head slightly. "A misunderstanding?" she repeated, her voice calm but edged with quiet authority. Tara nodded, her forced smile trembling. "Yes, and I assure you it won't happen again." Leah regarded the glass of water Tara placed before her. "I'm sure it won't," she said evenly, "but I suspect this conversation isn't the last one you'll be having about it." Tara's hands tightened around the tray. "If there's anything I can do," Leah cut in gently. "There is. Learn why you did it." For a moment their eyes locked, Leah's cool assessing, Tara's filled with rising panic. Then Leah turned back to the window, dismissing her with silence. Tara retreated, each step back toward the galley a reminder that altitude offered no escape from accountability. Minutes passed before the captain's voice sounded over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun our descent. Please fasten your seatbelts. The words were routine, but for Tara they landed like a sentence. When the wheels finally kissed the runway, the plane erupted in applause, everyone relieved to arrive safely. Everyone except Tara. She stood by the door as passengers disembarked, smiling mechanically. When Leah reached her, suitcase in hand, she paused. "Thank you for flying with us," Tara managed, her throat dry. Leah met her gaze. "I'm sure we'll be in touch." Then she stepped off the plane, leaving Tara frozen in place. Moments later, 2 uniformed airport security officers boarded. "Miss Tara Miles?" one asked. Her blood ran cold. "Yes?" "Please come with us. We have questions about an incident reported during this flight." The murmurs of the remaining crew swelled as they watched Tara escorted out, her once proud posture replaced by disbelief. Outside, Leah stood near the gate with her phone to her ear. "Yes," she said quietly. "The report's been filed. Handle it through the board." She ended the call, slipped her phone into her bag, and walked toward baggage claim without looking back. The victory wasn't about revenge, it was about principle. Hours later, Tara sat in a sterile interview room inside the airport's operations wing. 2 compliance officers faced her. "Ms. Miles," one began, "according to passenger statements and flight logs, you removed a valid first-class traveler without cause. Would you like to explain why?" Tara's voice cracked. I thought she didn't belong there. She didn't act like the usual passengers." The officer leaned forward. "Not acting like other passengers isn't a reason to move someone. Miss Johnson paid for her seat. You violated policy and frankly demonstrated bias. The board is already aware." Tara buried her face in her hands. The realization struck harder than any turbulence ever could. She hadn't just humiliated a passenger. She had exposed her own prejudice. Meanwhile, at baggage claim, Leah's sleek suitcase appeared on the carousel. She lifted it effortlessly, her composure untouched. A call came through from the airline's CEO himself. "Ms. Johnson," the voice said, "please accept my apologies. We're initiating mandatory bias awareness training across all divisions." Leah's reply was calm but firm. "I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Hale. Let's make sure it's not just training, it's transformation." That evening, as city lights shimmered beyond her office window, Leah drafted a brief statement for the company newsletter. "Respect should never depend on perception. True service begins when judgment ends." She hit send and closed her laptop, satisfied. Across town, Tara sat alone in her apartment, a termination notice open on her screen. Her reflection in the monitor looked small, frightened, human. Slowly, she opened a new email and began to type. "Ms. Johnson, I owe you an apology. My assumptions were wrong. I've learned a hard lesson and I intend to do better." She hesitated, then pressed send. A week later, Leah read the message at her desk. The sincerity in Tara's words softened her expression. She typed a short reply. "Growth starts with accountability. I hope you mean every word." Hitting send, Leah leaned back in her chair. The storm was over, but the change it sparked had just begun. Months later, a new headline surfaces. "Former flight attendant leads airline's diversity initiative. Because sometimes the people who fall hardest learn to lift others the highest."